Megan is a mother of twins.
Mm-hmm.
Autistic twin, on the spectrum twins?
Okay, I'll do the diagnoses.
Okay,
How's that?
okay,
So I have 9-year-old boy-girl twins, and my son has autism and intellectual disability, and my daughter has anxiety disorder and a learning disability that we're still trying to figure out exactly what it is. It has to do with literacy, though. And then I have a 20-year-old stepdaughter as well, who has Asperger's and misophonia.
So you were at McDonald's?
Yes.
Sunday?
On Sunday, yes.
Sunday. And what happened?
The Coles Notes version is
Coles Notes version?
The Coles Notes version is that my son, who has autism and intellectual disability, was called a delinquent and a killer as well because he has autism. So the longer version is that a mom actually came in to McDonald's running in from outside saying there's a big kid in the playground or in the play place on top of a little kid. I'm like, oh God, it's probably my son.
How old is your son?
He's 9 and about the size of a 12-year-old. So he comes up to my chin almost, and I'm 5'10". So that kind of gives you a bit of an idea. Measurement wise.
Did she have kids in the playground, or she's
I'm not
walking
sure.
outside
I don't know
the
if she was.
playground?
I don't know exactly what. I don't remember seeing her inside the McDonald's, but that doesn't necessarily mean that she wasn't before that, because I was just too focused on the kids, right? And we've been going to this McDonald's for almost 10 years. Okay. We've never had any issues in there, and you know, the staff has always been really kind to us, and when it's not busy, for example, I'll try to prompt my son to order something, and it takes a little bit longer, and the staff has always been very patient with waiting because they know who we are, kind of thing. So anyway, this woman came in, and you know, this big kid is on top of a little kid in the play place, so of course all the parents congregate in there.
So she's screaming.
She wasn't freaking out at that point. It was just kind of, she ran in to let everybody know, kind of thing. And so all the parents ran into the play place, and I knew in my gut that it was my son because he was so much bigger than everybody else. And then I actually blogged about it, and I referred to her as mom number one. So mom number one then started screaming and yelling and how dare you, and you know, who belongs to this kid.
She's screaming at you? Or
well,
she
it was just in general, you know, and who belongs to this kid, why aren't they watching their kid, etc., etc.
So she stepped it up a notch, and she's really freaking out.
Yeah, and then mom number two, as I referred to in my blog, who was actually the mom of the little girl, of course started to get upset because her daughter was crying, and she was trying to figure out, and I'm like, okay, everybody stop screaming. Everybody just stop. Because it's not helping. Let's figure out what happened. And those two moms were like, well, you know, she has full right to be upset. And I'm like, I know, but screaming isn't helping.
No.
And they start yelling at my son, how dare you, and all this. And my son, like, he doesn't understand. I mean, he has autism, he has intellectual disability. No. He is developmentally a 3-year-old. He's honestly standing right beside me because he's climbed down from the top of the play place now. He's standing beside me with this look of, there's
and
a lot of people
they're
around.
Screaming at you, screaming at him, but
at him.
I can't believe you didn't deck her. I can't believe you didn't deck her.
There were many instances during this situation where I wanted to.
Oh my goodness.
So then they started yelling at me because I was trying to get everybody to calm down, and then I started getting emotional about it as well, which, you know, I won't apologize for that, but I, you know, was trying to get some kind of calmness going, and that wasn't happening. And ironically, I'm like looking around, and the few dads that were there were like standing up against the wall going, what the hell's going on?
Back away from the screaming lady. Back away from, oh my
There's
gosh.
a whole bunch of women screaming, we're out of here.
Yeah.
So anyway, I grabbed my son and took him out to our table so that then I could, you know, pack us up and leave. And the kid's grandfather was with us as well. So
why did you feel you had to leave?
Because I didn't know what he had done. So I didn't, and
she
frankly,
still hadn't really talked to you.
No.
No.
And frankly, there was so much yelling from these two women that I didn't want him to start reacting, right? Like, it's an overstimulated situation then.
And what would that do to him?
He might have melted down. which for him would mean, you know, that literally I wouldn't have been able to move him.
What does he do in a meltdown?
It depends on the situation, but for him, he usually tries to go after his sister then.
And do what?
Usually it's like trying to hug her, but because he's so big, he ends up pushing her over and falling down. Ooh. And, or if she's not there, then he'll just start freaking out, and I kind of have to get him down on the ground to calm him down and get rid of extra stimulus and all this. Ooh. So anyway, so I tried to remove him from the play place, got him out, got his stuff on, and sat him down in the chair. He's sitting there calm. Okay? I'm trying to talk to mom number 2, who is the mom of the little girl that he's scared. Yeah. You know, is she okay? Is she okay? And I could kind of see her nodding her head. Mom number 1 starts like soapboxing almost to all the other parents in the place, saying her son has autism. He's obviously violent. He's going to be a killer when he grows up. He's a delinquent. And I'm like, excuse me?
You didn't deck her?
I'm right here. And she's like, yeah, so? You shouldn't be taking your child out in public. He needs to be locked up and thrown away. I'm sorry, you're telling me to throw away my child? You need to leave, or I am going to make you leave. Because at no point now is this any of your business. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. But this is between me and the other mom now. Well, no, you shouldn't be even bringing him out in public. You should be taking him off into jail. You should be doing this. You should be doing that. Wow. And I'm like, honey, you need to leave now.
Wow.
And so she just kind of did the, and she left. And I'm trying to, like, make contact with this little girl's mom to make sure that she's okay. Oh, and also the mom number 1 actually was claiming that the little girl had peed herself and all this kind of stuff, and there was no indication. Oh, I can see how red I am now.
You're really worked up.
You know, there was no indication at all that the little girl had peed herself at all. She had stopped crying, and her mom was actually taking her back into the play place. So clearly she was okay. I still wanted to double check, make sure that the little girl was okay, that the mom was okay. I wanted to pay for their meals. I mean, they had already paid for their meals, but I still wanted to, you know, get a gift certificate for them to give because it was a horrible experience. And, you know, but
it sounds like that lady made it to her. Sounds like that lady made it worse.
Yeah.
Way worse than
she did. And I mean, at the end of the day, her responsibility in this situation ended at the time when all the parents ran into the play place to see what was happening. I would have loved if she had been calm enough for me to actually, after I had removed my son from the situation and gotten him sat down and safe and away from the little girl, I would have loved the opportunity to have actually asked her, what did you actually see? Remove emotions, what did you actually see? Because I wouldn't be surprised if all that he did was try to hug this little girl, and because she's half of his size, she got scared. I'm not negating that he scared her. I completely understand that. But this was also a learning opportunity for me to be able to find out what happened, and I couldn't do that because this woman was so focused on insulting me, insulting my son, insulting my parenting. And you know what? She can try to insult my parenting all she wants, whatever. But
did anyone from McDonald's, did anyone from the staff come over?
I do not remember any of the staff coming over, but I was also so hyper focused on her and trying to get her to stop insulting my son, stop spreading lies about autism and being violent and psychopaths and all this kind of stuff, that I didn't notice who else was around, to be honest. But nobody tried to intervene. Nobody tried to remove her from the situation or even remove me from the situation if they felt that I was the one that was causing the problem. You know, we left of our own free will type of thing, and I saw that this little girl was okay. I want to keep coming back to that. The little girl was okay. She had stopped crying, and she was going back into the play place to play, which is fantastic. But I still would have loved to have known what mom number 1 had seen, so that basically I can correct the behavior. Now, because this has happened, basically we can't go to a play place again because I don't want the same thing to happen again. So now both my kids are going to miss out from that. Because they both can't go to the play place.
Why?
Well, because I can't take my daughter in and not take my son.
Why wouldn't you take your son?
Because I don't want this situation to happen again, and I don't know what he did. And he was he was up top in the play place, where wherever we were sitting inside McDonald's, we physically could not see him. It was just the angle that she was at from outside, she could see. So if I can't see him, I can't intervene before something like this may happen again. And because he's so big, that's probably what scared this little girl. I mean, we'd actually been joking with this family beforehand. We'd, been having little conversations and all this kind of stuff because they were only 2 tables away from us. And, but then this situation happened, and I totally understand that the little girl's mom got mad and was protective of her child, and I totally understand that. But because mom number 1 escalated it so much, there is absolutely no way for me to learn from the situation and correct any behavior. So thank you very much, mom number 1, if you actually watch this.
Yeah, but
you escalated the situation beyond where it should have been, and I will admit that yes, I yelled back. The fact that I did not clock you one shows a lot of restraint on my part, but I was not going to show that kind of violence in front of my children. Whereas you were spouting off everywhere, and shame on you.
Then wouldn't it be her? She's the issue, not your son?
Yeah. I mean, my son started the
then
situation.
You should go to another McDonald's.
But I don't know what he did, because you didn't take the 2 seconds to tell me what you saw.
Someone else might. And personally, I think if she had stepped it down, if she had been normal, she could have talked to you and you could have learned something. Yeah. But now it just looks like she had an issue. Yeah. So maybe your son was just...
I think because that's what he does to other kids, is he goes up and he hugs them.
He's 8 years old.
And he's 9, but he's so much bigger than this little girl. I think
his
she
world
got
is
scared.
Elmo. He loves Elmo, so he's a hugger. Yeah. So why would you keep him from Playland or like McDonald's playground? Like, kids love that. Yeah. Just because of some crazy lady.
Yeah. I know, but I can't take the risk.
What risk?
Because he's so much bigger than other kids, and maybe I will take him back again, but for now, we're just doing drive-through. Yeah, she has.
She freaked you out. And McDonald's, I think, should have had someone there to monitor the... They should... I personally, because I've had situations with my son, about him not wearing socks. I went through this big phase because my thing was, kids slip in socks. Why would they have that rule? They go on their hands anyway. They don't have gloves on, so especially in the summer, it's too hot for socks. Yeah. So there would be a group of us. Our kids wouldn't wear socks. We were all in on it.
And most of the time in the summer, all the kids take their socks off anyway because they're running around. They're too hot, and it's in the play place, which is even hotter.
I would have moms come up to my child and point at the sign and say, "Socks! You're not supposed to be going in there without your socks on." And I'd be like, "Whoa, you talk to me, not to my son." Yeah. And he'd be like, "What?" And they are so pumped up with I don't know what. It's scary. Yeah. It's scary when the mom talks to the kid. You talk to the mom. Moms talk to moms. Yep. So I can totally relate. I mean, wow, I can't believe you didn't give it to her. Especially when she was talking. Especially when she talked to your son. Yeah. That's out of line.
And just, saying that he's delinquent, saying that he's a psychopath, saying that he's a killer.
And she's going flying off the handle. Wow. She's saying that as she's flying off the handle in McDonald's in front of all these kids. And she's not psycho?
The amount of swearing that she was doing was unbelievable.
She should have been removed.
And how neither of us was removed, I don't understand.
She should have been taken out.
But she should have been removed for sure. And, if it's the whole situation, then yes, okay, we should have been removed. But how it escalated with her as
she probably had a flashback. Maybe she had problems. Maybe something happened to her and she had a flashback. Because if she didn't tell you exactly what happened, something's wrong with her. Yeah, she should have been booted out. And frankly, for everyone's safety, that's just wrong.
The focus should have been on that little girl. Yeah, and making sure that little girl was okay. Yes. Second focus should have been finding out what my son did. Yeah. So that then I can correct the behavior. Yeah. So now I cannot correct the behavior. You don't know what happened. how do I
Did the girl say? Did the girl talk?
No, she was too little. She was too little. She didn't have the vocabulary. I think maybe she was 4. I mean, she would have maybe had some vocabulary for it, but if she was 4, she was scared. She was crying. So
the mom would have got it out of her if there was
probably
something.
Later, and you know, she could have once she calmed down. But it was a horrible, horrible situation to be in. And the kid's grandfather was like, I don't know what to do. I'm like, just get them out. Just get them out.
It's fun to watch dads in McDonald's Playland. They're all in their own little world.
Yeah.
And as soon as they're like any sort of chaos, they get out.
Yeah.
Where's the exit? Emergency.
Yeah. So,
Mama Bear pops out. It's like, ah!
Now, he was very good in that we got the kids to the car, and then he let me stand outside the car screaming and swearing. But I made sure there were no kids around first, and then I laid it out.
Was she still in there when you left?
No, she had already left. But the kid's grandfather was just really good at letting me do a vent session outside of the car, so the kids weren't aware.
Your kids'
My
grandfather?
kids,
okay.
yeah.
Your dad?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, and then he, you know, big hug for me and everything, and then he also, like, took them to the park when we got home and threw snowballs at them and stuff, so that I had time to calm down.
Yeah.
Because my blood pressure was through the roof, obviously.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I'm medicated for high blood pressure. So the fact that I knew that my blood pressure was through the roof was a lot. So, yeah, the whole situation was just, ugh. And it's on my blog, so if I can send you the link to put on yours as well.
Yeah.
You can really see, you know, because I calmed down later that night, and I basically turned around and said, you know what? Of this whole situation, yeah, I'm going to thank her for calling my son delinquent, because at the end of the day, this has just made me that much more motivated to get out there and helping more families with kids with special needs, because I know how I dealt with this situation, but there are a lot of other parents out there that don't have the support network that I do. And are very, very insular, and if that situation had happened, they would never leave their house again.
Yeah.
And we purposefully go to this McDonald's in particular because it's a smaller McDonald's. It has a smaller play place, so we can control the environment a little bit more.
Yeah.
And we never, ever go at meal times.
No.
We go kind of mid-afternoon where there's going to be fewer people just because of, you know, my son interacts with other people differently. He goes in, he climbs up to the top, and he sits there and he plays with his Elmo. That's all that he does in there. And then, you know, I can go in 20 minutes later and, okay, we're going to go now. And he climbs back down and we leave. But in almost 10 years, we haven't had a situation there at all. And unfortunately, on Sunday we did. You know what? This should have been about that little girl.
Yep.
And it wasn't. And that's what really angers me in this situation, was that this mom, number one, that was screaming and yelling at me, that was not related to the little girl, was stopping me from making sure that she was okay. Because if she hadn't been, then I would have been helping that mom, and I would have been going to the hospital with that mom and admitting, you know, this is the strength that my son may have, plus he's twice her size because he's twice her age. But none of that could happen, and it's sad because this one mom was on a power trip.
Yep.
So there you go.